Big Blue Blitz with your host, Joe Mauceri.
Injury to insult for the Giants as they lose a key piece of their offense in a loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Hello and welcome to this edition of the Big Blue Blitz. I am Joe Mauceri, and we are talking about the Giants' loss to Philadelphia as the Eagles get their revenge for the Thursday night football blowout at the hands of Big Blue. And joining us to break it all down, NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, you were there at the link. What was it like when Cam Skattebo suffered that horrific ankle injury?
It was gruesome. My first thought was like, whoa, why is everybody turning their back on Cam Skattebo? And then I realized their stomachs were turning, and what you could see, the TVs in the press box were delayed, so you could see what they saw, which was just a horrific sight of his ankle turned in a different direction than his foot. And it was devastating. You heard the players after the game say, they hope they never see it again. You heard them say that Skattebo was instead. While usually in that situation, the players devastated, the healthy players go over and give him support. It was the opposite. It was Skattebo encouraging his team, being like, let's go, let's go, let's get this one, let's get this one. And then out of a absolutely, devastating situation, a season-ending injury was one of the scenes I'll remember the most in my career, which was this notoriously hostile Eagles crowd, the people who throw batteries and booed Santa and whatever. Like, they gave Skattebo an ovation. I looked, it wasn't just Giants fans. There weren't that many Giants fans there. It was Eagles fans on their feet applauding Skattebo. Part of that surely is the gruesomeness of the injury, but I also think part of that is the respect that he's earned. Like, he's an Eagles Philadelphia
100%.
type. He's an Eagle. He's a player the Eagles would love, like those fans, like run through a wall, brick, blue collar mentality. And he scored 4 touchdowns against the Eagles in 5.5 quarters. So he has the Eagles fan respect, and they cheered him going off the field in a show of support. I thought that was cool, crossing rivalry lines from a hostile fan base.
And you just pointed it out. For all the bad that we talk about those Philadelphia fans and what it's like to go there, to see that just really speaks to the player that Cam Skattebo is and the respect that he has earned. All right, so he underwent surgery in Philadelphia right after it happened. You were on the call with Brian Dable. What did he say is the latest on Skattebo?
So he said all went well, and Skattebo could be out of the hospital as soon as today. He's got a long road ahead of him. Look, he's out for the season. It's possible he could be back on the field in July. There's a lot of things that can go right and wrong between then and now. Number one thing is doctors are saying it looked like from the film, an opened ankle dislocation, which leaves you susceptible to infections, which is why they had to have emergent surgery. That's the big difference, obviously. Is there a fracture involved? Is it just a dislocation? There's a lot of moving parts that only Cam and his doctors would know. But if all goes well, then it's a long road ahead. But by the next time, football means something again to the Giants, Skattebo could be back.
And you did speak to an orthopedist. You wrote about it in the New York Post. People can check out the full article. Is it up yet online?
It'll be up at some point tonight.
All right. But give me one takeaway there, what the orthopedist had to say about the injury.
Yeah, that the prognosis is good, barring any kind of setbacks, and that he could, assuming everything goes according to plan, there's no reason to suspect that he won't be back to full strength or back to as good as close to or as good as he was before he left, if everything heals properly.
Let's certainly hope for his sake, for Giants fans' sake, that happens, because his football career his NFL career off to a great start. You talked about him cheering on his team, trying to motivate them and get them refocused. It's clear the impact that he has had on this team, and we've seen the relationship between him and fellow rookie Jackson Dart. Dart talked about the loss of Skattebo after the game, and he was still a little shaken up. Here's what he had to say after the loss.
Yeah, I was devastated. It's my boy, man. So seeing him go down and obviously like reacting to what happened, and that sucks. It's the worst part of this game.
So I look at that and think about how close these two guys are, and I think about Cam obviously cheering the team on, and then I look at the way that Jackson Dart finished this game, and I was really impressed with the way he went out there. This is a guy who I feel like if there is a second on the clock, he is going to be fighting until that final second is off the clock, regardless of the position of the game. And I feel like that you see that guy at the YMCA playing pickup basketball, right? There's time left. We haven't lost it yet. There's still a chance. Fight till the end. To see that from a professional athlete, I think it just speaks to kind of the attitude of both of these guys that they have brought to the team. What did you think of the way Dart finished this game out here?
I feel like I see this every week, Joe. I was super impressed by the way he played, right? Like, he's playing with his C-list cast of weapons right now, and he's making those guys better, right? He had 190-something passing yards, but Theo Johnson had a ball hit him in the face mask. He lost the 68-yard touchdown to Darius Slayton on kind of a BS call. So, like, his numbers actually should have been better, and that's playing without Skattebo and Neighbors. So I thought he played well. I thought he played tough. His throw to Devin Singletary late in the fourth quarter to get them in field goal range was pinpoint. He makes all the plays. He gets up from all the hits. I thought all that was very telling, but I feel like I say this every week. I'm more impressed with him when we go into the post game afterwards, and I just feel like he always hits the right note, which is not easy for a young kid to do. Here's what he said: "We have to start figuring out ways to win because I hate it. I'm not used to it, and I'm not going to accept it." I thought that they kind of really dominated most of the game, and it's an embarrassing feeling. I can't tell you how many times I never use the word embarrassing, but I've been in these media scrums where somebody says embarrassed, and I always like kind of cringe because I'm like, I don't know. I'm embarrassed like if something happens to me personally. Like, I don't know if I get embarrassed on a football field or whatever. This embarrassed is kind of a strong word. And for him to throw it out there without anybody even using it, like, you know, that, and from a rookie, like, you don't think Dexter Lawrence or Brian Burns is going to tell this kid to pipe down. No, they listen to the rookie. He's become a spokesperson for this team.
You know, I think it's interesting because I think embarrassed and quit are two words that you don't take lightly in professional sports. And I feel like was it one of those guys who last year, was it Dexter Lawrence who said that they soft. That was the word last year.
And then they all walked it back the next day. Dexter Lawrence said it. Neighbors said it. And then they all kind of walked it back the next day. Jackson Dart ain't walking this back. Like, those were his genuine feelings.
Yeah. You really, I mean, it's the quarterback of the team. He's clearly, despite being a rookie, taking on the leadership of the team. So let me just ask you this here. Where do you go from here for the rest of the season with Jackson Dart? Because, I mean, you got to have a strike of balance here, right? The kid is going to play, hair on fire in every game out there. As you said, he's missing the best weapons that he has on this team now in Neighbors and in Skattebo. And I mean, what do you do to I guess protect him from himself a little bit, and also just think, hey, we got to look long term because it's not happening this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're 2 weeks too late on it. Like, they should have made a move before Skattebo got hurt, after Neighbors got hurt, after they beat the Eagles, when the whole season was in front of them. Now it's kind of like, I know there are people in the media banging the drum to make a move. I'm less willing to do it now that I'm 2-6, and how do I know Joe Shane and Brian Dable are trading draft picks that aren't going to belong to their predecessors their successors, in January? Like, if I trade my second round pick for somebody, maybe that makes my job less desirable to the next GM.
Well, the thing you said is that you can't trade for a rental, right? So you have to have a guy who's going to be here next year. And if you do that, then at least you get some reps with.
But then you got then
him
you're
and
paying
Dart.
that guy. Then you're paying that guy big money. Maybe.
Yeah, but you were doing that if you did it 2 weeks ago still. And yes, you were doing
I
it with
thought
the
2
idea of
weeks
hoping playoffs, right, for this
2
year.
weeks ago, I was
Yeah.
thinking, well, maybe they can make a playoff run, and Dable and Shane are in a much better position. Now I'm thinking they're going to be 4-13 again. So,
But if you go out and get the wide receiver now, right, who does add to the team, you get a few wins, and all of a sudden, instead of 4 wins, you get 6 or 7 wins, and then it does help. It does help Dable and Shane, and you come back and you say, we're going to add Malik Neighbors to this, we're going to add Cam Skattebo to this, and then we'll go from there.
I kind of feel like the ship sailed. I know people are still beating the drum. I kind of feel like the ship sailed, but look, I wouldn't crush it if it's the right deal. I wouldn't be giving up major assets now because look, you know how I feel, Joe. I say this all the time. Like, I want players. Draft picks are lottery tickets.
Yep.
Like, I want good players. But the Giants have kind of made their bed. Like, you know who's good players? Saquon Barkley, Xavier McKinney, Julian Love, Leonard Williams.
Yes.
Like, they let all these guys go and got the draft picks, and now the draft picks haven't worked out, and now they want the good players again. Like, you kind of got to stick to something here.
We say this every week. Daniel Jones looks like a good player. We got to take a break.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that good player, Saquon Barkley, when we come back. We're also going to talk about the Giants finally finding a solution for the tush push, only to have the referees step in. We're going to talk about it all when the Big Blue Blitz continues. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
Welcome back to Big Blue Blitz.
Well, the Giants couldn't bounce back from their epic collapse in Denver as they lose to the Eagles in Philadelphia, 38-20. Joining us to talk about it all, Ryan Dunleavy, NFL reporter for the New York Post. And Ryan, we talk about the tush push throughout the NFL season. The owners had a chance to ban the tush push. People are trying new strategies every week. And this week, it looked like the Giants, at a critical moment still in this game, had figured out the tush push. They get a fumble only to have the officials say, not so fast. Give me your reaction in the moment as that all played out.
Yeah, I thought it was fascinating. My first thought was like, why hasn't anybody else done this? And I guess it's kind of like where Hurts's body lines up in the sea of piles, in the sea of bodies. And then, like, I was like, that has to be a fumble. Like,
has to be a fumble.
I didn't hear the whistle blow before Thibodeau had the ball. The idea that you can't challenge forward progress is a loophole here because their whole play is just to push forward. So, like, essentially they have nothing to lose because you can't challenge them. You don't blow the whistle. To Brian Burns' credit, he laid it out perfectly. Like 2 weeks ago, the Giants against the Eagles stopped the Eagles' first surge, and the officials let them keep pushing forward. 2 weeks later, the Giants, 2 weeks later, the Giants stop the first surge, take the ball away, and it's like, oh, that's forward momentum. That's forward progress. So, so the Eagles have nothing to lose here. Like, if they lose the ball, the play's over because they're going forward. And if they don't lose the ball, if they keep the ball, they just keep shoving you backwards. So, like, to me, that is almost as good, Joe, of a reason to vote against the tush push as the injury nonsense that gets cited because the data doesn't back that up, or just the idea that it's unfair. It's like, well, that team is better than most teams at it, so I'm not gonna punish them for being too good at something. But, like, here we go. Here's ground that makes sense for me on why to ban it. Is like the officials don't know what they're doing. Like, the officials don't know how to call it.
And to that point, here is what Kayvon Thibodeau had to say about the ruling from the officials after the loss.
He said they called the forward progress before he reached the ball out. So sounds like to me, but
you didn't hear a whistle, right?
That's the hard part about the tush push. Yeah, sorry. I mean, that was a great call by the ref.
You guys feel like you guys were screwed out of the game because of some of those missed calls?
Nah, man, you can't blame missed calls on anything. You know, I think we didn't stop the run. I think they made the 50-50 balls, and they got the best of us.
Here's my thing about that whole. First of all, thank you, Kayvon, for telling us how you really felt, saying what we were all thinking. I know a lot of guys in the locker room wouldn't put it out there because they didn't want to get fined. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well,
you
I
were
was
there.
in that scrum.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could hear it on the audio clip. Brian Burns whispered to him, "You're about to get fined," and that's when he said, he said, "Oh, sorry, great call by the official."
Yeah. I think it might have been too late at that point, but we'll see. So I look at that. The thing that boggled my mind in that situation is if his forward progress is stopped, he doesn't have the first down then. Like, you can't give him the first down and say his forward progress was stopped in that. And that is the point that I was like, the ball's back here. He's not moving forward. Okay, then it's not a first down. He moves it here. All of a sudden, it is a first down. Now my forward progress is stopped and then we knock it out. We get the ball. It just made no sense to me the way that it was officiated. Go ahead.
It made no sense to Brian Daboll because he tried to challenge it at first, was told you can't challenge forward progress. And he was like, well, then I'm challenging something. So, I'm challenging the spot of the ball. Then you're looking at this play again is basically what he told the officials. And then he lost that challenge anyway. But we know Brian Daboll's heated on the sideline. He was going to challenge. He would have challenged anything. He would have challenged like 10 man on the field or whatever just to make them look at it again.
Yeah, so they could see just how wrong they got it in that situation. Well, Thibodeau also said that the calls weren't the reason that the Giants lost this game. They didn't do a good enough job against the run, and I respect him for that. And that starts with Saquon Barkley. Because Barkley said hello to his teammates, and then he said goodbye as he ran past all 11 members of the Giants' defense. I believe it was the second play of the game for that long touchdown here. Saquon hasn't been having the season that he had last year in Philadelphia. In fact, this was his first game over 100 yards. Why did he have so much success this week? You think it was just revenge against his former team on his mind there?
No, I think the Giants' rushing defense is bad. It's been bad for 3 years. So if you're going to have a get right game against the Giants rushing defense is a good place to start. I think the Eagles offensive line, hasn't been the same as it was last year, but I think it's probably rounding into form. And then I think, there's always a little bit of the motivation. Saquon said after the game, the Eagles saw how the Giants celebrated the first victory against them, and it stuck with them a little bit to get revenge. And he's certainly somebody who knows all about that. So I think there's an aspect to that. So I think there's a lot of reasons in why Saquon went off, but I would start with the Giants are playing. Their run defense has always been difficult, has been a struggle under Brian Daboll, and they're playing with Darius Muasau and Dane Bell, and they're playing with a lot of backups on the field right now too. So that doesn't make it any better.
All right, so you were earlier in the show praising Jackson Dart and the way he handles everything post-game. And I'm curious because, yes, I was going to play the bite, but you summed it up with what Barkley said post-game about them dancing, taking their shirts off on Thursday Night Football. Did you have a problem with the way that Dart and Skattebo celebrated that victory in retrospect here?
No, not at all. I mean, this is like when you beat your dad in basketball for the first time. No, they've been bullied for years by the Eagles. Those are the defending Super Bowl champions. No, absolutely. These are rookies trying to change your culture. Absolutely not. I get it. The Eagles are entitled to be bothered by it. That's what makes sports fun, is trash talk and rivalries and whatnot. Fine with the Eagles being bothered about it. Fine with the Giants trying to change their attitude and perception and celebrating it the way they did.
All right, so when you look at the defensive side of the ball, obviously Shane Bowen has been a topic of conversation throughout the season. You still can't stop the run. You're going against Philadelphia, a team that doesn't have A.J. Brown, right, one of their top wide receivers in this one. What's your takeaway overall defense, and are we going to hear renewed calls for Shane Bowen following this loss to the Eagles?
You know what? I didn't see as much of it from the fan base. I didn't get a sense of it from people around the league as I did last week. Was like a historic collapse. It's like you want your pound of flesh. Somebody's got to go. This was more of like a ho-hum. The Giants brought their B team to face one of the best teams in the NFL. And by the end of it, with Skattebo out and Adebo and Holland and Flott, by the end of it, they were playing with their C team, and your C team is going to lose to an A team by 18 points. So, did the Giants play well? No, I thought it was on the players as much as the coaches. I think Kayvon, one of the best things he said after the game was, at some point you got to make plays. Like, football is 80% mindset and toughness and only 20% like ability and skill. But at some point, that 20% matters. Like, you have to make plays. The Giants didn't make enough plays. So I'm not going to go crazy blaming Shane Bowen or Dayball. There were no crazy collapses or anything like that. They got outplayed by a better team.
And, you talk about the injury to Flott. That was another thing I wanted to bring up here. Obviously, he's been having an incredible season and really a breakout season for him. When you look at that coupled with the cluster injuries that you're seeing here in the Giants secondary, are the Giants looking at going back to where they started the season and that dismay with these injuries starting to pile up?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's probably where it's headed. I thought coming into the season, Joe, I think I probably said it early on. Like, I thought the Giants had pretty good depth this year. Whatever depth they had has been shredded. I overrated the depth because what they're rolling out now at corner and safety and wide receiver and stuff just isn't good enough. So, they're 2-6 for the 5th time in 7 years for the 3rd straight year. And we know how this goes. They stumble to 4 or 5 wins. They'll put it all together one game. They'll go blown out one game. They'll blow a lead one game. And pretty soon they'll be 4-13 or 5-12.
And if that happens, we will be once again talking about the job security of Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen. And when you think about where we were 2 weeks ago, just 2 weeks ago, it's really hard to believe. That's why you tune into the NFL each and every week for the roller coaster ride. We'll be here to talk you through it all on the Big Blue Blitz. Giants fans, thanks for tuning in. For Ryan Dunleavy, I'm Joe Mauceri. We appreciate you all. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next week.